The second recipient of the Distinguished Alumni Award is Cynthia McCollum from the class of 1976. Cynthia McCollum has championed our justice system for 3 decades, first as a public defender and now as a judge in Dakota County. A longtime professor at Hamline School of Law, she has mentored countless students nationwide through mock trial and trial advocacy. Introducing Judge Cynthia McCollum is Neil Mahoney from the class of 2006.
Good morning. It is a great privilege for me to introduce the Honorable Cynthia McCollum for entrance into the Minnetonka High School Hall of Fame. My name is Neil Mahoney, and in addition to being a member of the Minnetonka class of 2006, it is also my privilege to be Cindy's oldest son. Like many children, I suspect, I have taken my mother's accomplishments for granted. For our parents, it seems natural that they have succeeded. We overlook, or at least I have, the struggles and hardships that our parents may have faced. So I'm grateful for moments like these, which are far too few, when we can reflect on the hard-won accomplishments of our parents. So I'm very glad that I can justifiably brag about my mom. Her dedication, determination, and decades of public service. Cindy McCollum graduated from Minnetonka High School in 1976, having been both a track and swimming athlete. That was just 4 years after the passage of Title IX, which laid the foundations for women's athletics in this country as we know it. She attended the University of Minnesota, where she was an All-American swimmer under Coach Gene Freeman, a trailblazer in her own right. Cindy graduated from the U in 1980, when only a few years earlier, many of our nation's private colleges prohibited women from attendance at all. For her athletic accomplishments alone, my mother would be a very worthy inductee to the Minnetonka Hall of Fame, and a hero for her children, who were all Minnetonka athletes. But Cindy's most impactful years were ahead of her. After some brief time coaching and working as a counselor for youth struggling with mental health issues, Cindy attended the well-respected William Mitchell College of Law, graduating in 1985 with her JD, only 4 years after Sandra Day O'Connor became the first female Supreme Court Justice. Cindy then began her decades-long career of public service, one that continues to this day. Cindy and my father, John Mahoney, spent the next 3 decades working as attorneys in the Hennepin County Public Defender's Office. Working long hours for little thanks, Cindy became an accomplished and respected trial attorney, defending the poorest among us, those without voice and often without hope. In 2014, Cindy was appointed a judge in the Minnesota 1st Judicial District by Governor Mark Dayton, and has subsequently been reelected twice. She has continued her career in public service, all the while teaching and providing her advocacy expertise to young students and attorneys throughout the country. Cindy McCollum is a true public servant, and I could not be more proud of her for that. However, it is with great happiness that I can say to my children, as well as to you, that Cindy McCollum was not only someone to be proud of and to admire, but among the many women of our country, our state, and our high school to have broken ground, faced odds and obstacles, and surmounted them so easily that we take their spectacular accomplishments for granted. It is with great pleasure and unending gratitude that I am able to introduce the Honorable Cynthia McCollum.
And please welcome Cynthia McCollum to the stage. Thank you.
Well, that made me a little teary-eyed, my oldest. So I want to thank the Minnetonka Alumni Association for giving me this award. I want to thank my sisters, Lisa Paul and Cheryl McCollum, for coming here from out of state and for nominating me, and 2 of my high school friends, Mary Jordan and Kay Keekley Balch, who also attended this. None of my children were able to make it because of all their obligations, so I'm happy for my friends. I treasured my years at Minnetonka High School, although I moved here from Southern Indiana in 1973. So for me, it was quite a transition to go from a Southern high school to Minnetonka High School. We moved here in the dead of winter, where I didn't even have a proper winter coat. I also, of course, moved in the middle of my sophomore year, so my schedule was quite chaotic the whole 2.5 years that I was here. So I was thrown into Mrs. Woody's journalism class, which was all seniors, and an accelerated class, even though journalism in Indiana meant I was on the yearbook staff. I received my first C ever on a vocabulary test because they were in the middle of reading Moby Dick. So that was one of my immersions. I also treasured, though, that class, and that class became the cornerstone for one of my majors as an undergrad as an English major. I majored in both English and psychology while I was at the University of Minnesota, and Miss Woody taught me how to read critically and how to write. I also learned that from Mr. Streed, who has passed away, but Mr. Streed, in his composition class, taught us how to think critically. He had placards in his classroom, and I still remember the ones that said, "Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely." So true in today's age. So Mr. Street prepared me for composition writing at the University of Minnesota. I also want to acknowledge Mr. Rognus, who's here, because my schedule was so mixed up because of the classes I had had in Indiana, and I didn't necessarily need them in Minnetonka. So I was a senior in American history, which was a class of sophomores. And when he saw that I didn't need the same level of tutelage as many of the sophomores, he allowed me to do an independent research project, and I chose the internment of Japanese American citizens during World War II. And that was really his sort of push towards social justice and realizing that the government sometimes takes draconian steps with their own citizens. So true even today. So those were several of the teachers that really paved the way for me when I went to the University of Minnesota. And Mr. Rognus, he probably doesn't remember this, but he also reached out to Jean Freeman, who was my coach at the University of Minnesota, and suggested that she talk to me because I had been a swimmer at Minnetonka High School and I ran track at Minnetonka High School. And being part of the university swim team was another foundation in my bedrock and where the person that I became and the choices that I made. So I became a public defender. I was a public defender for almost 30 years. I handled over 45 homicides. I did felonies, misdemeanors. And I really went into that because I loved being in trial. I love public speaking in the matter of a courtroom, and I loved giving a voice to the voiceless, which is still something that we should all appreciate. Then when I became a judge, that was a stepping stone for me in just being able to consider the impact that our justice system has on our community at large. So I have appreciated Governor Dayton appointing me and then being reelected by the citizens. And I feel like I still learn something every day as a judge. So I want to thank everyone for honoring me and the association for honoring me. And it's been my great pleasure to serve this district and to serve as an alumni of Minnetonka High School. Thank you.